people come to you at this point, and you've talked to thousands of people, and they say, Gary, I'm not happy with what I'm doing. I don't like my bid. I don't have passion. Like, what is the main theme that you're recognizing with those people, and what is the response to them?
Lack of accountability or optimism. And they're looking for answers, but often what they're looking for is affirmation for their excuses. And the reason they like me is I don't want to do that for them because everyone else is doing that for them and it's fucking them up. What most people want is for you to agree to why they got unlucky or why it's not going well. If you look carefully at what's happening, a lot of us are creating entitlement and nepotism for people we love by acknowledging things that aren't true. Like, for example, the thing that's really playing out in society right now is the real pandemic is non-accountability, right? So right now you have an entire, let's just use our country for a little bit. It's Biden's fault, it's Trump's fault, it's Republicans' fault, it's Democrats' fault, it's my spouse's fault, it's mom, now the other big one, it's mom's fault, it's dad's fault, it's everyone's fault. What about this? Like the thing that I'm usually trying to be, like usually where I go, depending on the tone and tenor of the person. You know, some people love a gym trainer that like really grinds you. Like, you know, like people like that. Other people like one that's a little bit more like your therapist / trainer. Everybody likes different things from different relationships. What I tend to try to do is look at the person that's coming at me, whether randomly at an airport or somebody I really care about, and be like, what style of communication can I give right now that brings them the most value? For some people, it's like, look, that's real trauma. Like somebody comes to me that I don't know. And like, this happens to me a lot. Like that, I don't know them, but they consume my content. And I'm like in line to get a coffee and they're like, Gary, can I speak to you? I'm like, you know, I'm pretty me. I'm me. Yeah. I'm like, sure. They're like, look, man, like my dad was an alcoholic and like sexually abused me. I can't be like, yo, bro, who gives a fuck? Like, that's not appropriate. You need to come with real compassion in that moment. That's something I can't fully understand. I'm not all knowing. I'm like, to me, that needs extreme sympathy and passion, and compassion. But if that's a 45-minute convo, not a 1-minute convo, then at some point the story with that person, especially if it's the 18, let's say it's an employee and I'm in hour 18 over 3 years with them. At some point in that convo, it starts to transition into like, you are aware that other people have also gone through this traumatic experience and through therapy, meditation, health and wellness, mentally and emotionally, physically, they've been able to get on the other side. Humans are remarkable. Now, how you start that conversation isn't always like, rah, 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 I got you. Sometimes it takes 4 hours of compassion before you can start to transition the energy to accountability and capability. But the issue, you know, what do I say? You're capable. You don't like, politics is such a hot topic, right? You don't like what's going on in America? Go to Sweden. I don't know, like if you're so distraught right now listening to this and you think America's the worst, I have great news. Australia is lovely. And so to me, why are you going to complain when you're in control? You like that feeling. People don't want to be accountable.
I think complaining gives people sometimes an identity.
It gives them a short-term endorphin hit. It gives them a short-term excuse. It gives them a Band-Aid. It gives them a jolt of, I don't suck. Life is as basic as it comes. Insecurity, self-confidence, everything else is secondary.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because like the message is very clear, and I couldn't agree more. But you know, there's also this thing was like, well, easy for you to say Garyvee, point of privilege, Lauren and Michael, point of privilege, and like it's just like it's another bump along the road.
Only because they don't have context.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Sure, easy for me, Gary. Let's talk about Gary.
Go.
I immigrated from the Soviet Union. I grew up in a household where my dad worked every minute, where my mom, who's the greatest of all time, but very early on said, you take care of your sister. I've only had responsibility. I've only had stress and pressure on my head my whole life. Started working at my dad's liquor store at 14. At 16, I'm already a financial impact on the business. Now I've got that. Like, I've never had a vacation in my fucking life. How about that? I didn't take one as a kid, and by the time I was grown and I went, every vacation I've ever taken in my entire adult life, I've had to think about responsibilities that were happening while I was on the fucking beach. So I promise you I wasn't on fucking vacation.
Yeah, that's one thing.
So thank you, enjoy, like fuck you. How about you, fourth kid in your family, never had the responsibility, everyone took care of you in the fucking family. You got it good.
You're the oldest, right? Yeah.
Yes, like fuck that shit. Like as if nobody else has, like everybody has something. Everybody has something. The thought that I have it, like the thought that other people have it better than me, that is stupid. Why would anyone think that? You don't know about people's lives. You know how many people have had atrocious things happen that they've never had the strength to say out loud? Nobody on earth knows. Everyone's walking around with secrets. Everyone has skeletons. Everyone has trauma. Everyone has pain. No, I don't think it's a point of privilege. Plus, what are we defining as success?
That's the thing.
The stupidest fucking thing I know on earth is that people define people of privilege with money. Money has no correlation to happiness. You know, you guys are grown now. You're in circles. You know, unlimited amount of people.
More people we know with money are more unhappy than people we know with less.
100%.
Yeah.
And by the way, you don't know yet. You'll find out if you get there. And if you don't get there, you won't know. I don't know. Am I supposed to think LeBron's lucky because he's a fucking athletic freak? I know that I wasn't born as an athletic freak, but I don't know what's going on in LeBron's life. I'm supposed to believe that Beyonce has it so fucking awesome? I don't know what's going on in Beyonce's life.
How are you going to teach your kids this? I want to know for my own, what are you doing that and this book too, you could talk about this as well. What are you doing for your kids?
You're just having conversations, but don't forget, I'm not going to be the best vessel. There's different vessels. I'm going to be my kid's dad. I'm definitely not going to be Garyvee.
Right.
I might be very effective for your kids.
Right.
By the way, I might be the perfect person for your kids one day. You'll be like, this is somebody we knew for a long time. They're going to think they may think I'm cool. It's happening right now. For so many of my friends, they're 15 to 20-year-old. The amount of texts I get from friends saying, my son just texted me a fucking video from you.
Oh.
That I've been telling him for 9 years, but he hasn't listened, but he texted me and be like, Dad, we should do this. You're like, motherfucker, I've been telling you this. Because sometimes you need an outside voice. Sometimes Oprah did it for people, even though mom was saying it the whole time. I can't be that. I'm going to be dad for my kids.
Yeah.
What am I telling them? I'm doing dad shit. But I also know that dad shit's only going to be 50% of it because humans, when they grow up, dad, mom can only have so much leverage on them. So I can do dad shit there. I try to do dad shit for the internet, older brother shit.
No, you're the godfather.
You know,
the godfather of the internet.
You know, I try to do it. I try to leave positive contributions. And then I'm also okay if I'm not the right vessel. My dad always brings this up. He brought it up yesterday when I spoke to him in between meetings in San Francisco. He said, son, it's really nice. I said something to my dad one day when we were driving. And it was about how Wine Library was going to be the biggest wine store in New Jersey. And I said, Dad, I'm going to build such a big wine store for you. And I'm going to be so good at it that everyone's going to stop competing with us because they're going to all know that they're fighting for second place. That I'm going to be so good, and this is going to be so good, and I'm going to build the biggest thing, and everyone's going to be fighting for second place. Because what my dad used to be worried about is what you guys are giving me flowers for. While I was building Wine Library, I was telling the industry in interviews what I was doing. I was like, the internet's going to win. And email market, and he would get upset. He'd be like, don't tell everyone your secrets. And I would say, Dad, you don't understand. I'm so much better than them. I'm going to tell them what I'm doing, but they're not going to execute on it. And it was this really gangster moment when I was 24, 3 or whatever, that was a real, I remember it vividly the second I said it. It was ooh, it was it was being like a rapper where you have a bar that you just know you're going to be known for forever. And it was just me and him. We used to compete a lot. It was a real challenge because I was building the business and I would struggle with him coming in and being I'm like, Dad, I'm doing it now.
But he's technically the owner and
but
the
he's
boss.
like, fuck, man. At the time I didn't understand. When I was 22, full-time back from college now. Don't forget, I was there since I was 14. So I've been there every summer in high school and college. I was there 100 days a year. But now I'm there 365 days a year. When I was 22, my dad was 44. 4 years younger than I am now.
Whoa.
It's weird.
That's a trip.
So I was at the time at 22, I'd be like, Dad, you're you're good. I mean, the thought, I'm 48. I think I said earlier, I'm just starting. So, for my dad, it was, he was thrilled because the business went from 4 to 10 to 17 to 25 to 30. I fucking annihilated it. Changed the course of our lives.
You brought it online, right? Is that
brought it online. Okay. That was the whole punchline. but he lost his identity as the man. And I didn't want him micromanaging because I'm like, I'm fucking giving up my fucking 20s for you. Because I also had my own resentment. I didn't own any piece of the business and he wasn't paying me a lot. I love when people are like, don't listen to Garyvee, he inherited a winery. I'm like, okay, let's start from the top. It's a wine store in New Jersey. I inherited nothing. And as a matter of fact, there are very few people on earth that will give 150 hours a week for 12 straight years, give up their entire childhood, all their fun of their 20s, and work every day to build a business for their parents. Very few. I sit in very rare air. When people try to razz me at don't listen to this guy, I'm like, you don't know, you're complimenting me because I sit on an island with very few other human beings. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't get 13 questions of, so what are you gonna do, Gary, when TikTok's gone? And I'm like, grow. And they're like, what? I'm like, what do you think's gonna happen? If TikTok's banned in America, all that attention has to go somewhere. I believe that X is gonna relaunch Vine.
Yes.
I believe there's 40 to 50 good entrepreneurs right now building a TikTok competitor right now, because they're like, fuck it, the stakes are so high. If it gets banned, I'm gonna crush. I think Snapchat Spotlight's getting better. I believe YouTube Shorts will be a winner. I believe Instagram and Facebook themselves will be winners. But what I know is the ultimate winner will be the best day trader of attention, because she or he will spend that first 2, 3, 4 months really getting a sense in the gray, because it won't show up in the math yet. In the gray, they will figure out where it's going and they will hit it hard. You know, what do I say to all those people? Tough shit. And here's why. Here's why I say tough shit, Kip. When I hear, Gary, you don't get it, my email, my Google search, what you just said, this sucks. I'm like, you know what sucks? When you own AAA cleaners in New York and you were the first result in the yellow pages under cleaners, and then Google and Yahoo came along and killed the yellow pages. You had a 70-year business because you were, why do you think, I don't know if people know this, the reason there are so many companies named AAA cleaners, AAA landscapers, AAA, is because the yellow pages were the source of finding things, and they did it alphabetically, and the people that owned AAA showed up first. How about that for a history marketing lesson?
There's probably like half the people listening to the show had no idea that was the case.
So to me, like, you know, it is what it is. Do you think that Hershey's is thrilled that Mr. Beast made chocolate? You think Gatorade is super pumped that KSI and Logan Paul made Prime Energy drink? Do you think that Kmart was happy that Walmart happened? Do you think that QVC is pumped that TikTok Shop exists? Do you think that Hollywood, that ABC was thrilled that Netflix happened? Do you think that Toys R Us was happy that Amazon happened? Like, what are people talking about? Everything changes all the time, always and forever. And if you're crying that the thing that helps you make money is changing, well then you're a hypocrite of the history of how business works. And here's what happened. You got fat and lazy.
Yes.
And you're in trouble.
Oh yes.
And
yes.
I say this, I hope people hear it like it's framed as tough love. Here's why. We can't complain about it because we were the beneficiaries of it at some point in our career. I'm not allowed to be mad that email and search got trumped by blogging, YouTube, and social media. It's why I ran at it so hard, because I didn't want to be a hypocrite. I built the largest wine store in New Jersey because everybody else was doing direct mail and full page ads in newspaper, when I outflanked them with a website, email, and Google. So when I sensed things were changing, I didn't want someone to do that to me. By the way, it happened to my dad. I got busy, started doing VaynerMedia, and became Garyvee, quote unquote, and Wines to Sold Out came out and innovated a deal of the day Groupon style, and really took and became the biggest store and took that business from my dad. Then I got mad because I love my dad, and I invented winetext.com. By the way, everybody should sign up for it, it's crazy. And now it's deal of the day in text form, better deals, and even easier. You just reply with a number to the text. And so like, that's what I love about it. It's kind of like a trilogy in boxing, right? Like You don't win every fight. You might have won the first one, you lost the second one, the third one was a draw. Like it is what it is. This is the reality of marketing. It will forever change. What I struggle with is how naive the Fortune 500 companies are of what's happening right now. What bothers me is the agency landscape. I am flabbergasted, 15 years in, how much agencies' incentives do not align with their clients.
Agencies' incentives are to make TV ads and try to win awards, and most companies don't need TV ads, and awards are irrelevant.
And if you look even deeper, Kip, they sell things that they make margin on.
Oh, of course.
So it's not,
Right.
They make money on upfront buying on TV, for sure. They make a ton of money on creating television. If you're a creative agency, for everybody that doesn't know what happens on Madison Avenue, you get paid a full year, millions and millions of dollars just to think of one commercial. You don't even make it. You outsource it to a production company. Literally to think, make decks and present. And then even worse, programmatic digital, they make so much money in these black boxes justified by CPM cost. Like the whole ecosystem is really, really pissing me off. And I believe that the reason I'm still building an agency is a little bit based on my superhero syndrome, which is a problem and I gotta fix it because you go too far and you start building resentment. That's my personal life and my professional life. Like I really want to tear down Madison Avenue with VaynerMedia. And when I say tear down, I don't wish bad on anyone. I just believe that the interests don't align enough, and I'm hoping that I inspire a lot of kids that are coming out of ad school to build an independent agency and not sell to a holding company. Because if you sell to a holding company, it goes back to what's happening. I'm not even mad at the holding companies. They're publicly traded companies, and they care about their stock value, not about driving business results for their clients. And finally, it is the Coca-Cola and BMW's fault. If you're writing the check, you're in control. They are feeding this bad ecosystem. They're the ones that can stop it. So yeah, for everybody who's listening, knowing that there's a lot of people that might be considering getting into the marketing landscape, the Fortune 500 marketing thing is a major problem. It's built on a book called How Brands Grow that was written in 1991. It's the thesis of how companies still run, which is right in principle, but doesn't take into account the practitionership of 2024. Reach and frequency and being consistent is beautiful. The problem is the world is fragmented. People's attention is 9,000 places now. And so you need to win on relevance at scale. That's how you stay consistent. And so that's why I wrote Day Trading Attention. I'm hoping, very selfishly, but also selflessly, that I might write the current Bible of marketing, and that's the attempt I'm giving.
That's awesome. Well, first of all, I agree with you on the agency model being broken. Like, we work with you all at Vayner on social at HubSpot, right? Brian and folks on our team. We're killing it with you all. Thank you. But like, I can't imagine another agency moving and executing.
And you know this.
That fast, right?
Let's share a little bit from behind the scenes that I think will help everyone. It is, thank you, and it's starting to go well, but it takes, like, I'm sure you've heard from your team, I'm reading the notes every week. When you're doing it different, it takes a few minutes to calibrate it. Like, it's not the easiest thing for a HubSpot or anybody else to make that transition because it's a different model.
Yeah, well, you have to move fast, and back to your point, you have to be relevant at scale, and to be relevant at scale, you have to say interesting and different shit, and it offends people. And people are a little uncomfortable about it, and they don't know how to act, and then you get some people who will send you DMs and be like, oh, I don't know if I like this, and you just have to be like, well, most people do, and the people I'm here for, and the people I'm here to serve do, and that's ultimately what matters. I'm not here to make everybody happy. I'm here to make companies who are trying to grow and be the next Fortune 500 companies, I'm trying to make them happy.
100%. And it's hard. It's hard for your most senior constituents. I know your founders very well. I'm sure that, maybe they've seen a post and like, huh. But then, by the way, it's hard for my team. I always tell my team, if we're asking for humility and yes and culture from our clients, we have to be the same. I had to speak to a creative last week in Asia and said, you're doing to our clients what you cry about that our clients do to us. Because she was like, my model, our model, the model is we need to win on relevance to many different consumers. When the client has an idea, we need to make that piece of creative with the same gusto as if it was our own idea. And so my team's at its worst when they're like, oh, client, you don't get it. No. Every client usually knows their business better than us. And then on a flip side, sometimes it's a senior person, but then sometimes it's day-to-day people. Sometimes it's a 30-year-old who says no to something we're making because it's not on brand in their mind. But on brand is to the different constituents, not to the subjective opinion of a human. Look, I'm obsessed with strategy, right? So first, it makes sense. Like, I couldn't comprehend not overthinking about this stuff. It's my favorite part. But I would say to people, the second you take your hand off the wheel, you become a worse driver.
Right.
And so I do believe that, let's go very high up. The sole reason Fortune 500 CMOs really struggle with today's marketing is they are so removed, to your point. So removed. They don't even have some of these apps on their phone, let alone consume the creative that works on it, let alone make the creative that works on it. Think about that. They are so uncomfortably removed. And so for me, the reason I like being in the craft, it gives me a currency, a pulse of its actual success with the end consumer. But this is also challenging. Here's why. First of all, if you're in the Fortune 5,000, so let's include private equity-based owned businesses and Series D VC-backed startups.
Sure.
If you're at that level, a lot of your marketing isn't even in the trenches. Fortune 500 continues to overspend on television, continues to overspend on traditional things. I mean, it is flabbergasting how much Fortune 500 companies spend on print, magazines and newspapers. There are many companies in fashion and other areas that spend more on print than they do on social creative. Do you know how insane that is? So, first of all, if you're Fortune 5000, you're running on reports, not on truth, right? Internal MMAs, justifying media spend that are fake. Creative is being done by creative agencies that want to make television ads. On a good day and on a bad day, want to make banner ads for the web. So it's a muckery there. As you go underneath that, you have a lot of founders that start companies doing all the social creative, doing all the copywriting, doing the website, doing the email, and it's great. And then they get bougie, especially the under 40-year-old set. I get it. They want to get to the Lambos and the private planes and the vacations and the pretty girls and the pretty boys and all the things that they want. And they start to delegate, and they have fast dreams that also leads to quick vulnerabilities. And so, I think you're right, my man. I'm pumped to see the way you jumped in and asked with passion, because I do think it's the biggest variable out there. And I think in a world where money got expensive, right? Like, yes. Meaning raising capital is expensive now. And in a world of post iOS 14.5, and let's call it what it was, the ones that figured out that Facebook, when I was yelling and screaming, it was true. Facebook was so effective that if you just did a very simple CAC, LTV, ROAS, cookie people, and travel around the whole internet and sell to them until they finally give up and raise tons of capital, you were able to make it look like on paper you had a great business. And so that era is also over. And I think this is also one of the reasons I wrote the new book. I think we're going into an era where you're gonna have to be better to win.
Yes.
And that excites me, and I wanted to prepare my community or the people that have followed me or the people that are curious after they hear about it. And I think I did just that with this new one. First, it's a self-awareness game. There is multiple mediums that work in communicating. I'm glad you brought up Substack because it allows me to go there. There is the written word. There are people listening right now who know more about video game 1980s culture than anybody in the world. However, they're very self-aware and they're like, fuck this shit, I'm not going on camera. I don't have the gift of gab. I'm incredibly awkward with my words. I'm shy, I don't like it. Good news, do you like to write? I'm a little bit more there. Or they have great gift of gab, but the camera makes them, it kills them. Great, you've got video, you've got audio, and you've got the written word. If you want to go to the extremes, you could even animate and cartoon it. You could even go that far, but that's a little bit of a further putt. But what would I say? First, you have to know your medium. The preference is video, because video is a starting point to everything else. I do audio and written word without doing it, because everything's extracted from my video. So video is the holy grail, no question. Video killed the radio star, like that's right. However, it is not required. That's very important for people to hear. Number two, once you decide to do it, you have to decide your medium. So for example, if somebody who's listening is really into modern IP law with AI coming, with NFT culture, with Disney, with Pokemon, LinkedIn and YouTube are gonna be much better mediums for them potentially than, let's say, Facebook. Right, but if you're into parenting, Dr. Becky, big shout out, she's getting a lot of momentum. Facebook's a fucking dream. So you have to know where your audiences are, you have to know what mediums, and then per medium becomes the creative variable, meaning LinkedIn is a fucking monster for the written word. You write a fucking epic 4 Substack, like New York Times, Opt-in, blogging, Medium, you write fucking 12, a newsletter person, you write fucking 12 paragraphs of fucking fire about something B2B or business oriented, and you post that on LinkedIn with a good picture, their now For You page stuff will get you lots of fucking views. Lots of reads. And LinkedIn is a very different audience. You get one proper fucker to read that, you're getting a message on LinkedIn that's gonna make you money. B2B and grown-up business, LinkedIn is one of the biggest opportunities that people miss because, for example, this iconic CPG brand you're building, if you write 4 paragraphs on your strategy of something you see on LinkedIn, that may lead to a business development deal that will never happen on Instagram where you're building consumer.
The distributor from Walmart happens to come across it.
You got it?
Yeah.
Right, and LinkedIn is so global, it could even be a small, cute live shopping player in China. People don't understand what's going on there. So to answer the question is, they'll all work. When you go into them, it starts getting into real culture. When you're writing something, your headline matters. It's good old newspaper. If that LinkedIn post, the variable is gonna be your opening headline.
What do you think about when it comes to copy for a headline?
I think about what is unique, can you say it different? I'll tell you the biggest thing, actually, thank you for being so good at interviewing. You're pushing me in a good place. When I think about social media creative, I think about it in consumer segmentation, something I call cohorts. So when I make content, I'll make content I'll think okay, I'm making this for 48 to 55-year-old parents of a 21-year-old, and it's a wealthy family, and the kid is lazy, but they were the parents that made all the money because they grew up poor, and they have anxiety that their kid's lazy, but they're the ones that created the nepotism because they pay them money. That's the content being made for. Cohorts with teeth. That was a very narrow thing. I wasn't saying parents. So I think when I think in headlines, I'm like, what narrow group am I writing this for? I'm gonna write this article, and this headline is gonna be written for the buyers of the biggest retailers in America. Title, what big box retailers don't know about beverages. You see what I just did? Improv? That, my brother? Uh-oh. That, my brother? That's why I wrote this book. That's what I know is missing right now. People are trying to hack the algos. They're looking for best practice. That's wonderful. That's called P, platform strategy. But then there's the C, I call it PAC, platforms and culture. And then you have to have consumer cohorts. So you have to know the platforms, absolutely. Vertical this, carousel that, live stream this, like best practices. As you know this, TikTok and Instagram are now littered with characters that do the Garyvee thing and tell people what the best platform things are. But the platforms tell you. The fucking Instagram guys making content every day, like this is what Instagram cares about. You just follow, every time TikTok puts out an announcement, that's what they're gonna do. It doesn't take a fucking superhero to understand if Meta says, we now care about carousels, go make fucking carousel. Like, Jesus. They both work. People will watch a 3-hour movie if they love it, or a 45-minute vlog. I did very well with Garyvee, they were long. And people will watch 7-second videos that crush, and people will not watch 7-second videos because they're garbage, and people will definitely not watch 25-minute videos if they're garbage. So that goes back to self-awareness. Like, are you capable of doing a vlog or or a great video series, or are you not? Same with short form. quantity, quality. Quantity is not debatable. You either make 97 pieces of content in a month or you don't. Quality is completely subjective. Either this person's attractive, funny, insightful, or not. I'm very high on that. However, I do think that I think I didn't do a good enough job contextualizing when I would always, I've been screaming on social for 7 years, volume, 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 volume. The reality is it's a quality quantity ratio. Volume if you're capable. If you have a lot to say, if you have a lot of jokes, if you have a lot of good looks, if you have a lot of techniques, if you have shit to say, go, different ways, edits, different, If you don't, of course not. This goes back to earlier why I'm obsessed with passion or expertise. You're dead if you're not doing passion or expertise. You just won't have enough juice. There's not enough fucking fuel in it. Passion will take you forever, which is why I like that actually more. But expertise, especially if you don't hate it. I always get worried about expertise because a lot of people's thing that they know because it's their profession, they don't like. And I do think that fuel will run out as well. But to answer your question one more time, to recap for everybody, both long and short form work and don't work. It's based on how good are you. I think quantity matters, and in the future AI world, you're gonna get drowned out by the quantity of content if you're not committed to quantity. But yes, of course it's predicated on the quality of that quantity. I just think you should have more at-bats. Many of the posts I put out, with all this 20 years of expertise and writing the fucking book and being that fucking guy, I miss all the time. But I love that feeling. Like, I'm trying to learn. I saw somebody the other day in a piece of content making fun of me and my team for doing all sorts of different shit. And I was laughing because I'm like, no, that's the game. The point I think he was trying to make is like, he's lost his way, he doesn't know what he's doing, he's just throwing, we're not throwing against a wall to see what sticks. We're exploring different features and things to try to learn what's next. And I have the humility for it to not do well. Do you know that the reason most people suck at social media is they're scared to not get as many views as their little fragile ego needs to go through the day? I don't give a fuck. I'm streaming on Twitch on mute in my office. 83 people are watching. I don't give a fuck. That doesn't take away from everything I'm doing.
Do you not think that there's a degree of optics? Like, people naturally use popularity as a proxy for quality.
Of course.
So to a degree, if you're consistently posting in a way that isn't getting, not saying that this is what you're doing,
yeah,
but if you're consistently posting in a way and it's like 83 likes,
yeah,
9 likes, like that says something to your audience about, when you look at YouTube and you see thumbnail, you see title, you see the name of the creator, you see how long it is, like, those are important metrics. But when you go on, you see how many people have viewed that video.
It depends on if you're trading for popularity, sure, or the perception of popularity, sure. Depends on what you're trading on. For me, if 80 people are watching me on Twitch while I'm on mute all day, there's really no reason to watch it, but I'm just experimenting. If someone then decides like Garyvee fell off or sucks, that person is incredibly not smart. I'm not super worried about losing with losing players. I could get 100 million views tomorrow if I decide to go fucking crazy on something I don't believe on that will goad the entire audience into watching. Who the fuck wants that? Like, it depends on what you're playing for. Too many people are trying to win with losing players, and too many people are not trying to win with winning players. One of the things I tell a lot of kids that fake the funk when they pitch me, businesses, I see you're gathering your thoughts because I want you to hear this. I think you're gonna really like this. No. I totally get it. One of my favorite meetings to have is a kid that comes in that's got it. The fucking juice. But I'm like listening. I love listening to a pitch. And I realized that she or he just pitched me and it would work on 99%, but not the 1%. And what I mean by that is I'll go into something specific they go where I know they're embellishing, and I'll go very narrow. If it's a place I'm comfortable, I know what I'm talking about. And I know a lot about a lot of stuff. This is why I started VaynerMedia. The main reason I started VaynerMedia was to know as many different things about as many different businesses as possible and build the biggest marketing communications company in the world that I could deploy against my other behaviors when I got older. For me, it's always been about 60 to 70. Like, that's when I'm gonna strike like a cobra. This right now is just fucking foreplay. This is just a setup. This is the fucking jab. Anyway, when I'm in a meeting like that, I had this happen the other day with a kid, and I went deep, and I was like, da-da-da-da-da-da, and I could see the kid was a little bit like, because I was like calling him out, and by the way, he crushed it. Like, I'm like, this kid's gonna fucking win. You know, that charisma, that salesmanship, and there was a lot of good stuff, but he was full of shit on like 3 or 4 things, but it was complicated to know it. But it just happened to be in a space that I knew enough to be able to go there. He really took it well, which was what I wanted to see. Which gave me even more confidence that he's just 24 and he's gonna get there. And then I said something to him that I say a lot of shit and I'm into this shit, but I like those moments where I'm like, fuck, I think this person just internalized this and it's gonna be like a thing. And I can't wait for them to dominate, and I'm gonna be old and they're gonna be like, Garyvee once said to me 30, I like that stuff, and I like it for him. And I said, brother, you're gonna win with 99% of losing players. The problem is you do that pitch again to the 1% winners, you're gonna lose with all of them, and they're the only people that matter. And that recaps what we just talked about. So yes, do I think perception is reality? Yes, I do. Do I think brand matters over everything? I sure do. But I think that the biggest issue with the world right now is people want to take everything out of context, have no concept of it. We've eliminated intent. People are trying to cancel everybody. Cancel culture was a disaster because it tried to cancel people without understanding their intent. If somebody is a beautiful person, they just didn't know the proper slang or didn't know, and they just had no ill will, the fuck are you trying to get them fired for? Similar to somebody seeing a video of like Mr. Beast on a post on Snap only have 80,000 views and be like, oh, he fell. That's not smart. That's not understanding what people, and by the way, back to your journey and his journey and the journey that I had with Empathy Wines and kind of knew CPG was next and why I talked about it forever and why I built VaynerMedia to be in CPG. A lot of creators are gonna care less about how many maximizing views. They're gonna care about views that translate into CPG sales, or hours allocated to meetings in Bentonville, or hours allocated to being on TikTok Live. Like, shit's gonna change. Shit changes. But the lack of courage and curiosity of the A-list to try new shit because they're worried about what we just talked about is why a lot of those people are gonna end up in the B-list. This is the follow-up to Jab, 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 Right Hook. This book was originally called Jab, 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 Left Hook instead of Day Trading Attention. To your buddy's points, like, if people are gonna look at you because you look, being attractive is a really interesting concept to me, right? So like, I think about why people would stop in the feed, right? And really, why would somebody sit? There's humor. I think we can all agree that humor is like a great place, right? There's attractiveness. I don't think this is gonna confuse anyone. We tend to stop in our feed if we think someone looks good, right?
Yeah.
There's what I think I've lived on, which is like value of information. And I think of those things in macro and micro. There's some people that are very good at perspective and mindset and blueprint, and then there's people that will go very tactical, and I've played both in a lot of ways. So when your buddies go, well, easy for you, Rye, to get attention. I'm like, look, if Rye is selling, if he's got his shirt off and they stop, but he's selling like B2B SaaS products and none of those people convert, then what did we achieve? And that's true. But if people stopped, and this is why I think people don't mix their content enough. If someone stops and you're looking all diesel and they're like, look at those fucking pecs, and then they click your account, and the prior post is you talking in detail about a B2B SaaS, I mean, just think about how wild this concept is. A B2B SaaS product for enterprise corporate. If 3 of the 1,000 people that stop to look at, either they wanna look like you or they're attracted to you, and then click that other one and be like, what is this? If 3 of those 1,000 are actually in that industry, 1 of those 3 may lead to a lead. So I think where people get hurt is they do content for the sake of getting attention, but never have the other part of it. And then they don't do the other part of it because their grid doesn't look good, or it's not on brand. They don't get it. They're in the business of the academia of marketing or the insecurity of marketing. The reason most people don't put out content that will help them sell more stuff is they know it won't do as well. So they keep putting out photos of their abs or their ass, yeah. Right? Because they want 1,000 likes or they want 1 million likes.
Yeah, they want that dopamine hit.
Yeah, exactly. It's all just high school.
It is. I'm on page 72. Literally a chart. Amplification, spending against what works, AKA not wasting a penny. Teaching you how to literally make sure you double down on what you need to double down and what you're learning. It's kind of a learn cycle in a way. It's like, okay, what are we learning and how do we double down on it? I'm simplifying.
Yep. I'll make it very common sense for everyone. I think you've been paying attention, everyone who's listening. Social media changed 3 years ago. It's now about the individual pieces of content, the TikTokification of social. It's not like when I grew up in social where you try to get as many followers as possible and then a certain percentage of those followers see the content. Ryan's got 200,000 on Instagram. I have 10 million. Both of us can post right now, today, and he can get twice as many views on a video than I can if his video hits right versus me putting out something that really does not hit right. That is insane. Once you know that content hit right, the algorithm has mitigated the biggest risk in marketing, which is the creative. Once you mitigate the risk of creative, you can then decide if you want to amplify it. More importantly, or equally as important, you can also extract insights from it. Why did it do well? That's like what I spend all my time on, Rye. I'm obsessed with why. Why? We're incredibly emotionally vulnerable as a society. The last 35 years of parenting specifically has been incredibly bad at getting people to be comfortable with discomfort. I mean, 8th place, bro, I hope your 8 to 14 year olds don't have 8th place stroke. I hope you melt, I hope you throw that shit in the garbage.
Dude, you're singing from the playbook, man. As soon as I came home with the medallion, that thing went in the bottom of the trash can. Didn't do it in front of them, but that's not hanging out, you know?
There's a really positive way to throw it in the trash can. It doesn't have to be cliche, oh, alpha dickhead dad. No, really talk about it. Talk about the reason their kids are more grown up than people think. You sit down an 11-year-old and be like, listen, it's not that I don't want you to have this bullshit 6th place trophy or medal. It's that you have to understand, losing is good. You guys came in 6th. You guys lost. That's good. You shouldn't be rewarded for that in the game of a basketball tournament. There's a positive way to talk about it. Anyway, I think we have a lot. The reason we're lonely is we're scared. We're scared of people's opinions. We're scared of losing in front of others, keeping up with the Joneses, blue check marks, followers, money, status, how attractive is your boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband, how much money do they make? All these vain fucking bullshit shit.
I'll say this. That's why you need to focus on what's real and what you can do that actually impacts what you're doing. That's what this is about. We get too caught up in shit. It's excuses, and you know this. We all know this. You get caught up in it. You don't know it, but once you really reflect, you know it's excuses because you're focused on things that you don't have control over. You know? Well,
that's what they're trying to do to us, right? That's what the news is. That's what society is. That's what politicians. That's what parents are. It's what schools do. You don't control shit in most of your life. This is why I love. It's so funny. After my last rant, none of that matters. Meanwhile, I'm trying to build an empire. I'm not demonizing success or winning. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to get people to be healthy about it so once they get there, they can stay there. Bro, I'm sure at this point in your life, you've seen in front of your eyes, circles or close circles, people get real paper and real money, and then 3-4 years later, it's all gone.
100%.
And a lot of times in that story, the family's gone, the reputation's gone. It's not a good life. They got to success in the wrong way.
Yep.
And it's because it wasn't success, it was fake success. It was proxy success.
Exactly. But that's why we gotta be day trading attention. We don't want proxy success. We need all success.
I'm telling you right now, it is crazy. I can't believe, I'll leave it with this for all of you. I can't believe none of you, most of you, the majority of you, are not fucking taking this shit more serious. Social media is free. Ryan, it's fucking free. Brother, it's fucking free. They don't charge you when you post. Do you know what a newspaper ad costs? A lot. Do you know what a billboard costs? A lot. Do you know what direct mail costs? A lot. Television commercial? A lot. Sponsorship of an event? A lot. Google AdWords? A lot. Pre-roll YouTube? A lot. Hulu interstitial ads? A lot. Influencers to plug your product? A lot. Like, I don't understand what the fuck people are doing. Organic social media is the most important thing in the world. Figure it the fuck out. Stop crying. Stop bullshitting. This is fucking it.
Bingo. Free.
Free. I almost call this book, it's fucking free. That's what I got it. That's who I became. Like, I was just always curious, like, why, even when I didn't know that bullying was based on kids that were unhappy at home, even in 3rd grade, I was like, I naturally felt bad for the bully. I'm like, something's wrong. And I was scared of the bully, like everybody else. And the bully back then in the 80s in Jersey in 3rd and 5th grade, they were big kids. The Williams brothers, they were big kids. I was scared of them, but I fucking knew in my heart, I'm like, nah, they're not beating the shit out of all of us for just kicks and giggles. There's something wrong. Why? Why? People are mad at their boss for being mean to them, even though the boss has always been decent-ish. And now they're like, oh, my boss is a dick now, or I hate him, I gotta get out of here, fuck him. And they don't realize the why is, well, a month ago, he found out that his spouse has terminal cancer and he hasn't told you yet. So why don't we give people the benefit of the doubt? In the story that I just told, why would you, if someone's been good to you for 5 years, or solid, or at least neutral, that at the first turn, that they were not as good as normal and they like it wasn't good, why do you immediately go into, I hate that person, I'm done? I'll tell you why, because you yourself are insecure. You're not in a good enough place to have the compassion to be like, wait a minute, Johnny's been decent. Now he's like really riding me this week in a nice way. People are selfish, they go into what they're feeling. To me, that logically is like something's wrong with Johnny. Empathy, I'm very bullish on it. And that same ability in human interaction helps you be a good salesman and marketer. The reason I put out good content is I have a good feel of what the world is looking for right now that I feel that I can contribute to. There's a lot of things I know that would do well, but I don't think I can contribute to it. I don't know it as well, it doesn't come natural to me. You know, I'd love to speak a lot more. Here's one, let me give you in detail. You'll like this, Dust, you haven't heard this from me. I would love to talk a lot more about grieving. I think it's a big subject matter.
Yeah.
I just have been fortunate and unfortunate that I can't speak to it. Here's why. Fortunate because I'm 48 years old and my mom's mom, my grandma who I really knew, my great uncle Misha, who was a father figure to me. And that's where I'm at. My great grandmother, but I was little. Like, unfortunate because so many of my family members died before I was even born, both my grandfathers, one of my grandmothers. So, you know, I have a small family, Holocaust stuff like that. So, you know, I can't speak to it, brother. I have thoughts on it, but I just don't feel comfortable. You know, I can observe from afar, but back to what we were saying earlier, I like to talk about stuff I've lived, you know, but one day I will. One day, unfortunately, I will. And I have a funny feeling in 30 years I'll have content on it because I think it's a big one out there.